He's going to use the microphone.
Morning, everybody. It's great to be here. I'm sorry I gave that horrible intro to Vanessa. But what a fun group. I know many of you. I also wanted to start things off. This seems like the most fun group that I've been to in a long time. It is, actually. I'm not lying. I mean, I'm just glad you got me out of my sweatpants and out of the house. So we're going to start today off with a little bit of a quiz, but there's prizes attached to it. We just finished our, you can win too. I think he's a ringer over here. But just to get things going, talk a little bit about Special Olympics. We're going to take the closest answers, and Vanessa's going to help me here. We just completed our Winter Games in Galena, and we had about 300 athletes up there skiing and doing snowshoeing. So with that said, we're going to be passing out a few of the things that we handed out as part of Winter Games. One size fits all, so we're lucky. So can somebody tell me how many sports worldwide Special Olympics offers? And just get close.
48.
42. 220.
56.
All right, so I heard 42, it's 35.
Okay.
35 sports. How many athletes do we serve in Special Olympics, Illinois? Get to the closest thousand.
2,000. 13,000.
14,000.
You know what? We're going to give it to this guy over here. It's 23,000 athletes who are on Special Olympics, Illinois. How many volunteers does Special Olympics Illinois use on an annual basis? 2019 numbers, by the way. Closest thousand.
8,000. 30,000. 40,000.
17,000.
I heard 40,000. We'll go with that. It's 50,000 volunteers that we use on an annual basis. How many events does Special Olympics Illinois produce every year? You know that, Tracy. You volunteer in the field.
I know.
How many events?
200.
800.
15.
500.
300.
48. 600.
All right. I don't know. We got two that were in between. We got like a 300 and a 500. It's 400. 400 events. Statewide.
Okay.
Statewide. All right. Somebody said 300 and 500. So they both, we got enough there? Yeah. Okay, last one. How many athletes do we serve locally here in Region G, which is 6 counties? How many counties, Vanessa?
9?
9 different counties. How many athletes are served locally?
300.
A little bit higher.
6,000.
I think 1,000, right at 1,000. We got that one. 1,500. All right.
1,500.
Okay, we'll give it to, he gets to end, plus take $1 from him to donate to Special Olympics. So. Okay, so I appreciate you guys answering and audience involvement. I've got a number of slides that I'm going to go through, but I'm going to go through them quickly just to highlight a few different things. One of the things that we really appreciate about Special Olympics, obviously, is our athletes. And they're at the core and the center of everything that we do. And Breen. So this is a quote by one of our athlete leaders. And one thing I would suggest, instead of having me here next time or Vanessa, I'd like to come back, but have one of our athletes speak. We have global messengers that speak on behalf, and they do a much better job than I do. This is Breen Boguski, and this is Bree running. And the reason I bring Bree up is multiple things. Bree is on the autism spectrum. Bree is now on Spotify as a singer. Her name's Bree Kelly. You can go on Spotify. Bree also was a scholarship athlete at Tennessee Wesleyan in cross country and track. Bree is one of those individuals that she really is challenged a lot in her daily life because she does not look like she has a disability. But she has fought, and her parents fought with her so that she is now one of our athlete ambassadors. She holds down 3 jobs. And it's also, like I said, on Spotify as a musician. She's an excellent singer. This is where it all started. Many of you have probably heard my spiel before, but in 1968, we're very proud in Illinois that Special Olympics started in 1968 at Soldier Field. As you see, we have like 10 times the amount of people in Bloomington normal at our summer games than were at the first games. But this was swimming and track and field at the old Soldier Field. Now it looks like a spaceship landed in it. But we're really proud of the Illinois connection And actually, a lot of Special Olympics started with Dr. Freeberg in Carbondale. He actually trained Anne Malone Burke, who became Chief Justice Burke, in events down at Little Grassy and Touch of Nature down in Carbondale. So that's really where it all started. And then Eunice Kennedy Shriver took it global with the Kennedy Shriver family. We started from these really, really humble beginnings, 26 states in Canada. Some of our athletes are actually still competing. Lee Tanaka in Chicago is one of our 1968 athletes that still competes. But now today, fast forward, we're at 6 million athletes worldwide in 190 countries. And that's why I think there's such a great connection between Rotary and then I push up Knights of Columbus. Rotary has been involved in many, many of these events throughout the world. And I think there's such a good connection with engagement and interaction amongst Rotary members and Knights of Columbus members. We get a lot of civic and fraternal. They've been with us since the beginning, and so is Torch Run. Torch Run, as many of you may know, you'll see the Dunkin' Donuts, you'll see the Guns and Hoses tournament. Our law enforcement Torch Run is #1 in the world from Special Olympics Illinois. They raised, in 2019, they raised $5.4 million to benefit Special Olympics Illinois alone. Worldwide, they're in 93 countries, and they're raising $65 million worldwide for Special Olympics. I'll just touch on these. This is some of the 35 sports that are produced internationally. We offer 18 different sports plus unified sports. And I'll show the slide in a minute, but if you go to our tribute park, which we would love to invite you all out, coming up in June on the 17th, we will have our tribute park night that we would love for any members of Rotary to be a part of. It kicks off our Summer Games weekend in Bloomington Normal. Mentioned athlete leadership. Just what they've done is amazing. You know, they are the ones that foster, and speak on behalf of their own organization. Some of the crowds that they've spoken to, we've had athletes that have spoken in front of 70,000 people at Yale University. We've had athletes that speak in front of our Summer Games, obviously in front of 15,000 at Hancock Stadium. But that's really what we want to do, is get the athletes out speaking on behalf of their organization. One of the things that you may not realize is Special Olympics Illinois has become, or Special Olympics International has become, the #1 health organization in the world for people with intellectual disabilities. These are the different disciplines. I understand, the early commercial for the Opening Eyes or the Vision earlier today. Opening Eyes is one of the greatest programs we run with Lions Club. But then in Chicago, we also do a MedFest. And we'd love to do MedFests all over the world, but we also do one locally and in Chicago. And the reason I mentioned Chicago is it's really one of the biggest in the world. There's 1,800 individuals with intellectual disabilities that go through the United Center and get free health exams from Advocate Healthcare. Sorry, Sue, I know it's now Carl. But actually, Carl helps us locally with our MedFest here. Unified sports, one of the reasons I wanted to highlight unified sports is this is a way that the Rotary Club members can get involved with Special Olympics. We have unified sports, and especially here locally, we have it in tennis. We also have unified sports in bocce, golf. That's an opportunity for you guys to get involved with our athletes on a competitive basis and also train. And I think it's the future of Special Olympics, because many of our athletes and the pandemic and COVID, which I'll talk about in a minute, has really further isolated and marginalized our athletes and our individuals. And the reason why unified sports is so important is we have many of our partners that can go pick up our athletes and get them involved in training and competition. One other thing that I wanted to really touch on, especially for this community, is we are involved in a thing called Unified Champion Schools. And as you can read, what the really 3 different activities are of Unified Champion Schools is getting involved in unified sports, whole school engagement, and youth leadership and advocacy. So worldwide, there's 4,500 schools involved in this. In Illinois, we have 340 right now that are involved. And why that's important is really back in the day when, long before Vanessa was going to school, a lot of the special education students were down at the end of the hall. They didn't get involved in activities. Fast forward to today, A lot of our athletes are now being involved in the school. They're being integrated in the school in a really natural way. This has been one of the best programs that I've seen. We're touching about 150,000 kids in Illinois schools alone. So it's just a tremendous program that really allows them to shine. Young athletes is something that's relatively new. In 2005, we started this program ages 2 to 7, and it's really a fundamental play program. One of the coolest things that we ever did was at Central Catholic High School. The kids ran the program. They went out and raised the money. They did the awards. They did all of the sports stations. They really owned it. It was just an awesome opportunity for them. But also the young athletes, it's really our early intervention model where individuals are not, oh, that's Johnny with a disability. That's Johnny, my friend. So that's really one of the things that's been so important to our movement over the last 10, 15 years. Some of you have seen Tribute Park. One small plug that I would like to put out there for you, actually two. One is the Tribute Park night that I mentioned before, but we also have a big LED sign. And if you're ever interested in partnering with us, we'd certainly love to talk to you about utilizing that LED sign. We don't really charge community groups, especially if Rotary has things coming up, but also our building. We'd like to have community groups. Tony brought a group over from Leadership McLean County. So we would love to have you down in our volunteer center. When you look at our building, you don't know it goes all the way down, but we can fit about 100 people into that room. And we have Kiwanis that actually utilizes that space, but certainly Rotary would be able to utilize it too. Just a brief mention, we turned 50 in 2018. We had 5 days of events. It certainly gave our staff a lot of stress after the fact, but it was really an awesome opportunity to bring in the world. We had 24 unified soccer teams that came from all over the world, 23 different countries besides the United States. So this was just a great opportunity. Also, it was the first live event ever broadcast on ESPN that featured Special Olympics athletes. This is, if you ever get a chance to go to Chicago, this is the eternal flame of hope that we will be kicking off the final leg for the torch run for our USA Games. This is on the northwest corner of Soldier Field. So about 4 million people go by this every year. It's lit, it's the eternal flame, so the flame is burning 24/7. But if you get an opportunity, and many people from this community are listed, there's a walkway, and they're actually engraved on the benches that surround the eternal flame. So it's a cool opportunity if you get a chance when you're in Chicago. How many of you guys have joy in your mission statement at your work, your place of business? Everybody? That's one of the things I love about our mission statement, and our athletes are the ones that bring the joy. This gives you a breakdown that shows you really how we're divided out. These are 2019 numbers, but and Vanessa said, we have 11 regions. She's Region G, which is really mostly the central Illinois area. But it goes everywhere from Illinois to North America to Special Olympics Inc. Like I said, 190 countries. At our World Games, we'll have World Games in Berlin. In 2023, we'll have athletes going from Illinois. In 2019, we had athletes in Abu Dhabi. And the cool thing about Special Olympics, in my mind, is during the Olympics, the groups from Syria, Iraq, Iran are the ones that get the loudest ovation when they come into the stadium. It's one of the coolest things that you can ever be involved in, I think. We have 236 competitions annually, but then we also do fundraising events and other activities, training events, which makes up that 400 that we mentioned before. Okay, I was 500 off on our volunteers, so I'll own that one. But this shows you just a breakdown of some of the things that we do, the 6,700 health screenings. We're actually up to about 340 unified champion schools. So one of the things I wanted to mention, and you guys have been very involved, and many of you have been involved in a lot of our events, these are just some different ways that we raise the 14 million required. We also have about 5 million of in-kind on an annual basis for Special Olympics Illinois. And we like to do a lot of different fun events. Vanessa's probably been pulling on some of your arms for the polar plunge, which is coming up Saturday in Peoria.
Saturday in Peoria.
And then we have the other one the next Saturday in Bloomington
Yeah.
at Miller Park. So if you go to plungeillinois.com or just see Vanessa, we like to do different kinds of events where we do plane pulls, we jump in cold water. We have super plunges where you can go in once an hour for 24 hours. Yeah, it's terrible. It's miserable. I've done 7 of them and it's absolutely horrible. But it is a lot of fun and there's a lot of camaraderie. Somebody signing up over there or sitting online?
Sometimes I'll be the giving person that I am, I'll turn down the heat in the hot tub.
I'm with you on that. In Hawaii, they do a solar plunge. They back up an ice truck and they dump it in the pool for their solar plunge in Hawaii. So I would much rather be at that one than the ones that we do. One thing I did want to mention really quickly is just we take great pride in some of our largest events are here in Bloomington Normal that many of you are involved in. One of our bigger events is our state basketball championships, which will be happening. The other thing that we have a partnership with the IHSA, very proud of, and for the first time we'll be sending some groups from Chicago, from the high schools in Chicago, will be coming down to take part in the IHSA state championships in Champaign over March 10th through the 12th. It goes on at the same time as our state championships here at Illinois State and Wesleyan. So we'd love to see you guys come out and help volunteer. Many ways to get involved in that. And many of you are very familiar. I get the question all the time, 2 questions. Is it a full-time job that you're doing? And the second question is, when are the Special Olympics? So as you guys can tell, we're doing things year-round, but they focus on this one because it is one of our greatest signature events that we have, with 4,200 athletes coming from all over. State tennis is really a great activity and opportunity that they do at Evergreen Racket Club, and they do a great job out at Evergreen. We really focus on 3 things that I just wanted to mention. 3 things, the big 3 we call them, and it's really resonated through our staff. As you guys in business and you guys are in different corporations, we like to do things in 3s, but we also focus on these kinds of things for our big 3, which is improve athlete experience, reach more athletes, and raise more resources. So we really do everything centered around those, and we feel like our strategic plan is the one that really resonates with all 3 of those. The other thing is many of you in here are business owners or work for companies and corporations. One thing I did want to mention is we have some really great partnerships. One with United Airlines, also with Hyatt. And the reason I mention those is we do job shadow days. And those are opportunities where we have our athletes go meet the corporations. And what it resulted in is 2 years ago, actually, there were 4 athletes hired at United Airlines in customer service. And my shameless plug today is, our athletes are many of them are loyal, dependable. They're a great part of the workforce. They will change the attitude at your company. And it's shown it in United. The other cool thing about it is our 4 athletes, the UA4, they call themselves, they've gone to Denver and they've gone to Houston to train the athletes that are now working in those airports. And originally it was met with a little bit of trepidation. You can imagine, we're angry. In an airport, you're going to get really angry customers. Our athletes have diffused them in many cases. It's not to say that they don't have trials and tribulations like the rest of us in the workforce. In April, we're going to be doing a job shadow day with Hyatt Corporation. And that's where they go around and they actually show and introduce our athletes to the different jobs. But what we feel, hopefully like many of you, probably played sports and other activities, didn't have to be sports, but I think one of the things that our athletes learn is they do learn to fail. They do learn constructive criticism. It prepares them for their work life. And I think that's one of the things that we're probably most proud of, at least lately. So obviously, ways to get involved, and it's to see Vanessa. But I just want to thank you guys for being involved. I know, like I said, many of you are in this room, have been out to our activities. But please promote the fact that our athletes actually have abilities and they can be really viable members of the workforce. But we really feel they get that through all the training and the activities that they do with us. So, any questions?
Nope.
He's like, moving on, man. You need to get out of here. Yes, ma'am.
Where are the closest unified champion schools?
So right now, the closest one is we do Unit 5 is Normal West, and they have national banner schools where they have to meet 10 of the activities, and that's in Pontiac where they won a national banner. And they're not easy. ESPN actually votes. We send it to the folks at ESPN and they vote on, usually it's 10 to 15 schools every year that have an opportunity to be a national banner, which means they've hit on about 20 different core activities to get to that level. Yes, sir.
Is this a full-time job for you, and when are the Special Olympics?
You can ignore him.
You didn't notice that?
He did.
Yes. Yes and yes.
You did say when the Olympics are?
They're year-round.
They're year-round, it was on all those slides. March, summer,
Yeah.
August.
We start in January, go through December.
Once here.
One's here,
Yeah.
March and June and August. Yep. And on our website, you can Google Special Olympics Illinois is probably the best way, but yes, Julie.
I just want to say I witnessed the vision, the glasses part of it. Don, who's with Santinelli, invited me. It was just amazing. So you do the testing, and then they literally bring in all the edgers, and they're making the glasses, and they was just sit and wait, and they get their glasses. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Very cool.
and thanks for bringing that up. One of the coolest life-changing things I've seen is when we had an athlete that was a swimmer, and they actually did prescription goggles, and he improved his times in swimming like by 4 seconds because he was always afraid he was going to hit the wall. And when you guys did that with the goggles and the prescription goggles, I mean, it's
I
amazing,
didn't do it.
life-changing. Well, you were there.
Well,
And they've been awesome providing all that. Tracy.
Just to comment, many of my Miracle League players also participate in stores, so come out. A lot of you have seen all them too. Come on out, volunteer for Miracle League. You'll see a lot of Special Olympic players. And then, we also have our board meetings in your building too, and AMA's on our board as well. So,
Yeah,
and then volunteer at summer games, and that is so much fun.
and thanks, Tracy, because we started many years ago with Uncle Bill when he came over, and he's like, hey, this is just too natural of a partnership. So we're always looking for partnerships, and obviously would be happy to partner with anybody and have you come out and volunteer, but then also work with our athletes or our schools and some of the things we're doing. So I appreciate your time and attention and for being involved, and I appreciate Vanessa being part of this club because it sure seems like a fun group to be a part of. So thanks for having me.